Hello, and welcome to Sharing 3D Content with i3S Scene Layers On Demand workshop. My name is Sean Morrish. I am a Senior Product Engineer on the ArcGIS Scene Layers team. In this workshop, I will present to you the different ways of authoring, publishing, and managing scene layers in ArcGIS. We will begin with an overview of scene layers and what is new and improved since last year. Scene layers are an OGC community standard layer type that enables the streaming of very large heterogeneous datasets. This data can be combined with other 2D and 3D data to inform and enable analysis of 3D content at a local and global scale. Scene layers can be viewed, explored, and analyzed on several different clients, which we will see examples of here. Scene layers begin life like any other layer as a 3D GIS feature: points, multi-patches, meshes, LiDAR point clouds, or Revit BIM layers. These are then authored in ArcGIS Pro, City Engine, or third-party software in the case of photogrammetric meshes. There are two main paths for the creation, publishing, and sharing of scene layers through ArcGIS Pro. The Sharing tab in Pro permits the publishing of all features in the scene, or a single feature depending on user's requirement. Or users can create a standalone scene layer package or mobile scene layer package, which can be shared locally or uploaded and published to ArcGIS Enterprise or online as user needs require. Once published, scene layer can be consumed through a number of different clients. ArcGIS Pro as a connected service through Enterprise Portal or ArcGIS Online, in the web scene viewer, where it can be combined with other layers to create web scenes, web apps, or story maps. These can then be consumed by ArcGIS Earth, mobile, and runtime applications on devices. Most published scene layers are static snapshots of the scenes at the time of publishing. There are, however, the option to enable editing and updating of point and 3D object scene layers at time of publication with the use of an associated feature layer. These published point and 3D object scene layers, once published, can be edited and updated either fully or partially using ArcGIS Pro editing features for both geometry and attribution. A quick overview of the 5 scene layer types that we currently support. Point cloud scene layer from LiDAR or photogrammetrically generated point data. Integrated mesh from photogrammetrically generated 3D textured meshes. Point features from street furniture, light poles, or trees with attribution to enable accurate representation using correct 3D symbology. 3D object multi-patch layers representing a variety of multi-patch feature types. And finally, the latest feature added to scene layers, the building scene layer, which is generated from Revit BIM data. As mentioned earlier, there are 3 ways of publishing scene layers: scene layer packages or mobile scene layer packages. Using the share as web scene, which shares all layers in the scene to Enterprise or online. Share scene layer, which shares individual 3D objects or point feature layers. Create scene layer package, which generates a scene layer package which can then be consumed locally or uploaded and published to Enterprise or online. Finally, the new Create Mobile Scene Layer package, which enables the combination of a number of scene layers into a single package. We'll now take a closer look at the different scene layer types. Point cloud scene layers comprise of billions of points either generated with LiDAR sensors or from densified photogrammetric point clouds. These point clouds can be colorized, classified, and attributed, which permits data extraction, editing, and filtering of points for visualization and analysis. Next, we have integrated mesh, which is created from large collections of photo data, which is photogrammetrically processed to generate dense textured skin of the earth meshes, which represent the realistic condition of an area. Point data is published with all attribution and can be symbolized using smart mapping symbology in online or through arcade expressions in Pro or other clients. This may have an associated feature class which can be updated as changes occur. The 3D was our first scene layer type and enables the representation of millions of 3D objects such as city buildings or other large-scale features. Textured or non-textured, fully attributed, or with a attributed updatable associated feature layer. Finally, the newest member of the scene layer family is the building scene layer, which represents all layers present in a Revit BIM file. Organized by discipline and category layers, these published layers can be filtered and fast toggled to review separate features, disciplines, layers, or floors in Pro or in online Web Scene Viewer. Maintenance and updating of scene layers is currently possible with both the point and 3D object scene layer, with an associated feature layer, which is created at time of publication. This permits full or partial updates of 3D features and attribution of the scene layer without having to republish the full layer. Updatable building scene layers is coming in the future. The scene layer I3S specification is an OGC community standard and has wide adoption by a number of vendors who deliver their output in the I3S format. OGC example scenes and data can be viewed and reviewed in the link below. The I3S specification has been updated and overhauled to reflect the addition of point cloud and building layers, along with now being organized by profile. We have provided an update tool for 3D objects and integrated mesh to update these layers to the latest 1.7 specification for the fastest performance and rendering of these features. I will now share a series of demos on the authoring, publishing, consumption, maintenance, and updating of scene layers with ArcGIS Pro. So we'll begin our demo looking at the publication of global scene layer in data from Pro. Here we have an example of a simple scene which has buildings, point data for trees, and also happens to have a LiDAR data set as well. This is in Portland, Oregon. So each of these layers has got a set of attribute information. In this case, for the trees, we've symbolized them with their heights and species type. And then for the buildings, they're just 3D multi-patches, so we have symbolized them just as multi-patches. We can change the symbology based on usage, age, or other attributions that we might like to show in our scene when we publish this. So, as I mentioned earlier, there are a number of different ways of publishing. So to start off with, there is the Share tab, which allows us to share as a web scene. So this combines and compiles all of the data in the scene and publishes as a single whole. And that includes everything from the symbology and the bookmarks that have been assigned to the colors and other data that is in the scene itself. We can also publish just the individual feature layers inside that scene so that we can have them as separate single feature layers in a web scene online. So you can share as a web layer here. And then finally, we have the opportunity of using the GP tools, which allows us to create a building scene, or create a scene layer package or create a mobile scene layer package. So in create scene, we have create scene, a building scene layer package, point scene, 3D object, point cloud, integrated mesh, or so we have, these are the options that we have within the GP tools for creating either scene layer packages or mobile scene layer, a single mobile scene layer package, which includes all of this data in the scene. So going back to the create web scene, click on that and it gives us the option, brings up a tab which gives us all of the options for naming, what its summary is, giving it a set of tags, who we wish to share it with, and then we can run an analysis on it, which will allow us to look and see if there's any features within this data set that needs to be adjusted so it will publish correctly. We can then look at the content and see what we are publishing. So we see that we have the trees which are being published. We're also going to be publishing, looking at publishing this as an editable scene. So we have the feature layer, we have the buildings, we have the building feature layer, then we have the point cloud data set, and also all of the information inside that data set as well. So if we click on any of these, we can see it brings up a configure tab, which allows us to look at the what we are calling each of these layers within the web scene. And then bringing up the configuration, we can see that we can pick the attributes that we wish to assign and include. And then with the associated web feature layer, we can see that we can enable editing and allow editors to add, update, and delete features, update feature attributes only, or just add features only if you want to manage how this data is added and changed over time. And then we have the opportunity here to enable syncing. So that enables if we edit, if this is taken on a device and in the field and edited, we can then enable syncing when it comes back in. And then we allow others to export out this data so that they can take it into the field and do whatever editing they need. So all of this other information is also important to have in there as well. So just looking at the content, so we have the trees, so 3D layers, and then the associated feature layer as well with it. Then we go back to the general, and it gives us that option of presenting everything. And then for the scene, we can add more information here. We can then check and see that we're sending it to the right portal, hit the Analyze button, and we see here there are no issues, and then we can hit the Share button. And then once we click the Share button, it will run the set of tools, and once it has finished running those set of tools, it will notify us that we have now published that particular set of data, and we can view it in the web scene viewer. So here we have the web scene viewer with that same set of data, and with the point clouds, the trees, and all of the buildings, which can be queried and also turned on and off, and added to the underlay, and then also used in any of the models that we have. So this is one of the tools that we use for publishing feature services, tree services, point data services, point cloud services to, say, urban or to other cases in ArcGIS Online. So that's a global example of this type of modeling. Now, if we look at what we would do if we had a local scene. So here we have the same scene, but in this case, what we have is it has been, for use purposes, for engineering purposes, it has been brought into its local coordinate system. So in this case, it's NAD 83 Harn State Plane for Oregon, and it's international feet. So all of the features, they honor the local coordinate system and all of the measurements in that local coordinate system as well. So the same thing here, we can publish the whole web scene and also publish any of the other features that are in that web scene as well. The thing to remember here is that when you are publishing a local web scene, you have to ensure that you have the underlying DEM so that you have elevation, which you can see here. We have the digital terrain model. It's a 3-foot interval digital terrain model. We have an underlying topo or photo aerial, and then we have the features that we wish to publish and view in the scene as well. So if we take that and publish it, as I've done here earlier, you can then manage that particular model in the online environment. And what we'll see is that it is, instead of being at a global level, this model now is a local level. It's like an island sitting in the middle of a scene. So we have all of the features are here, and you can see we have the trees with all of their attribute information, the buildings with all of their attribute information, and the underlying digital terrain model and the overlaying aerial imagery. So that's the publishing of both global and local scenes. Now we'll look at how do we take it to the next step, which is looking at building scene layers. So we have the ability to import Revit buildings. So these are a simple Revit file which we've imported, and it's read natively in Pro. So when you click the Add Data button, it will just ask you which building you want to add. And then once you have done that, it will load that Revit file. And then in this case, we now have, so it will load all of the Revit files, and then it will render the exterior shell, and then we have all of the disciplines which are split out between them. So we have exterior shell, architectural, structural, electrical, mechanical, and piping. And we also have the ability to extract out the floor plans now. So for customers who want to be able to see what floor plans are, or to use them for
ArcGIS indoors. We have that capability now as well, so that enables us just to render and extract out the building floor plans themselves. And you can see there, we've got their floor plans. So going back to the building itself, once we have created the building, we can go back to our GP tool and we want to create a building scene layer package. So this takes a building layer, which is what we're looking at now, so the Revit data, and it turns it into a building scene layer package. So that building scene layer package can be then, so that's what we saw here, is that admin building scene layer package. That can be then either imported locally, and it now has the changes that the scene layer package has. So it's an overview or the full model view of the building, and that gives us all of the actual features, all of the interior pieces, all of the layers and floors and everything. And we can, have either of those, and then we can publish those as well. If you notice, you'll see as well that the building scene layer package, which has been published, honors the textures and materials that were included in the original Revit building as well. So once we have created that, we can then take that scene layer package and publish it to ArcGIS Online. And when we look at that in ArcGIS Online, we'll see that right here. So you have all the building featured data available. And then if we go to the Building Explorer, we can then see and turn off all of the different layers again, filtering all of those. Or we can select by level each of the floors and each of the levels as you go through the building. So you can see now that we have enabled the consumption, publication, and output of building scene layers, which is very useful for large campuses and others around the place. So once you have published these features, then it is important to be able to not only review and see what you have published and then add it to web scenes or to story maps, but also to be able to consume that data back into Pro to do the necessary editing or use it as a base mapping data set for your for models and stories you wish to tell to your users. So if we go back to, as you can see here, we have New York. So this is in a web scene. And clicking on each of the buildings, I get all of the attribute information for that building. Then if I go back to Pro, I can see that if I go to my catalog tab and type in I'm able to get that same web scene and add it to my Pro model. So if here I've added it earlier, and you can see I have exactly the same set of data. And if I look at the bookmarks, I can navigate to exactly the same set of bookmarks. So here we are going to the World Trade Center. We can see like we're now zooming in and changing things. So we can look at the different feature types and how they're switched on and off. And we can do, if we need to make any changes, we can change the bookmarks that we generate. We can navigate to different places. We can add or subtract different sets of data. And then we can republish this information back out to the web. So that is a simple example of all of the features and tools available for ArcGIS Online or ArcGIS Pro to publish and share, maintain, and access data for ArcGIS scene layers.
If you're interested in learning more about 3D and ArcGIS, please check out these other sessions streaming live and on demand throughout the conference. It's been a pleasure presenting to you today. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to contact me. Be sure to provide your feedback for this session by clicking on the survey link below this video.